Hello YouTube, it's me, Ambishion, and these are the League of Legends patch 5.14 patch notes. Let's start with Bilgewater Burning Tides. This adds 2 new champion updates for Gangplank and Misfortune, 6 Bilgewater themed skins, new Bilgewater wards and icons, the Pusher's Bridge map for ARAM, Black Market Brawlers, a new featured game mode for Summoner's Rift, a special guest announcer for all game modes, new music on Summoner's Rift and Butcher's Bridge. There's also a HUD update, which looks a lot like this, without the red dots, of course. Champions. Gangplank, the Saltwater Scourge, will be updated with the launch of 5.14. Head to this update article for details on the new look and kit. I'll leave a link in the description to this page so you can check it out yourself. Misfortune. Double Up. Now deals 150% damage if the first shot kills an enemy unit. Bounce logic is now more predictable. Double Up will attempt to find a target directly behind the first. If no target is found, it will go to the closest target in a 60-degree angle behind the target. W. Impure Shots. No longer applies grievous wounds. On activation, grants Struts movement speed. Move speed. Jeez, I don't like that. Movement speed bonus. Why can't it say movement speed bonus? That's what it needs to say. The cooldown was reduced by 4 seconds as well. E. Make It Rain. Has an increased slow early on and a decreased slow at later levels. Ari, her E, no longer has a bug on monsters. Charm no longer causes monsters to freak out, regen, or otherwise act unnaturally. Azir got a huge nerf this patch, at the same time, somewhat of a buff. It's a big change, more than a nerf. Passive Shurima Legacy no longer gains attack speed based on Azir's cooldown reduction. Now, instead, his W, Arise, now passively gains 20, 30, 40, 50, then 60% attack speed. E, Shifting Sand, no longer has a knockup either. So, yeah, the skilled Azirs take a big hit, but can build a little bit more freely this time. Around. Yeah, should finish my sentence. Darius, E, Apprehend, now briefly grants vision in the area around the pole, which in my opinion is a bit useless, but I suppose it can give a little bit of scouting power to Darius. Echo, Timewinder. The cost of it, mana-wise, was reduced by 10 at each rank, and his E, Phase Dive, has a decreased cooldown at each but the last rank. Elise, Cocoon, or I suppose her E in her human form, jeez, I can't speak at all today. Her stun duration on her E Cocoon was increased early on by 0.6, 0.5, or close to that at least, I think 0.35. Whatever. You can look right here. I'm not even going to try to say that. Her spider form. Now her spiderlings do magic damage instead of physical damage. The AP scaling ratio is increased by 0.05. The movement speed of her spiderlings have also been increased by 10, and they also fixed a bug where spiderlings wouldn't move or attack for 4 seconds after the initial cast of Repel. Evelyn. Now her Q does less damage at all but the first level. It reduces by 5, then 10, then 20, and then, wait a second. 5, 10, 15, and then 20. Jeez. Her ultimate, Agony's Embrace, has been, the slow on it has been increased by 10% at each level. Callista, now her Q and W now properly queues up to cast after her basic attack completes. I'm not a Callista player at all, but I'm assuming because of the last patch, I do believe, they added something that makes you have to finish the casting animation of her basic attack before you could cast anything, and which would result in you having to spam Q and W consistently to try and get it off before your next basic attack. Rumble has a few bug fixes to his Q and his ultimate. Q no longer damages untargetable enemies, and it also no longer damages enemies enemies who are out of range of his Flamespitter's distance. His ultimate also no longer damages untargetable enemies. Jeez, I cannot speak. I'm sorry. Rise. He gets a huge nerf this patch. His passive was reduced by 4 seconds, at least his stack duration, anyways. His Q, Overload, now does a lot less damage. Same with his E. And his E also has a reduced AP ratio. But also having no cooldown, or global cooldown, will probably keep him pretty strong, in my opinion. Tom Kench gets a buff to his Q and his ultimate. His Q does a lot more damage, 40 more damage at max rank to be exact, and the same amount early on. The scaling, I'm pretty sure, is 10, then 20, and then 30, and then 40? Something like that. Yeah. 10, 20, 30, 40. Excuse me. His ultimate bonus damage ratio is increased by 1% the second rank, and then 2% at max rank, doing 4, 6, and then 8% bonus health. His cooldown reduction was also reduced by 40, and then 20, and then it stays the same at 100 seconds on his third rank, or level up, whatever. Vayne, her Q, gets, I suppose, a quality of life fix. Now, the cooldown starts once she actually launches the basic attack, not when it hits a target. And also, got the reset. Tumble's attack will be consumed even if the target becomes invulnerable mid-fight. Or flight. That says mid-flight, but I have no idea what that means. Mid-flight. Okay. Yasuo. I'm not a Vayne player, so maybe I'm missing something. Anyways, Yasuo, Steel Tempest Whirlwind now properly applies on-hit effects to the first target hit, which will be good, I'd imagine. Not too much of a change, but, you know, if you stand behind your minions, it's pretty much gone. Hunter's Machete. Now, instead of 3 mana per second while in combat with monsters, it's 4 mana. Runeglaive gets a big nerf. Removed no longer converts basic attack damage into magic damage. And the AoE for Runeglaive only applies on monsters now. And also, Kaboom Glaive, they added this, deals double damage to the first monster hit. So basically, they're buffing it in the jungle and nerfing it in lane. They found the perfect fix. In my opinion, this is much needed. Zeke's Harbinger. This replaces Zeke's Herald, and it has a lot of changes. The build path is now Glacial Shroud, Amplifying Tome times 2, so 2 Amplifying Tomes, and 480 gold. It gives you 250 mana, 35 armor, 50 ability power, 10% cooldown reduction, and it has a unique active and passive. The unique active, bind to a target ally. This will remove all other conduits on your target. Unique passive, Conduit. When within 1,000 units of each other, you and your ally generate charges, stacking until 100 are reached and lasting for 8 seconds. Attacking or using abilities consumes all charges and increases you and your ally's ability power by 20% and critical strike chance by 50% for 6 seconds. I see this being used, of course, by supports consistently, but I'm not entirely sure how much it'll help the support, so much as it'll help the ADC, which I suppose is what they're supposed to do. Both Dragon and Baron now have their timers updated instantly for both teams, regardless if you have vision of the objective at the time of its death. Dragon and Baron are now, both now have new global death sounds, so regardless of if you have vision of it or near it, you'll hear them die, and you'll also get the cooldown timer for it. Rift Scuttler. Consistent scuttles. The summary here is really that all kind of soft crowd control should weaken scuttles as well. So that means charms, taunts, and all other small CCs like that will reduce the scuttles, I guess, tankiness. Allows you to kill it faster. Oh, excuse me, faster. Jeez. Death Recap. Fixed a bug where Death Recap was showing the lowest resources of damage rather than the highest. Bug fixes. Syndric can no longer pick up Baron with W, Force of Will. I had no idea she could do that. I wish I knew that. Actually, I don't believe the patch came out yet, so I can still try that out. That sounds like a lot of fun. Zillion's Q, Time Bomb, now properly interrupts enemy recalls if cast directly on them. That's interesting. It shouldn't, in my opinion, but it looks like it does. Fixed a few cases where debuff particles, example, Exhaust, persisted even after the effect was purged with Cleanse. Upcoming skins. Captain Fortune, Cutthroat Graves, Cutpurse Twisted Fate, Sea Under Aatrox, Rogue Admiral Garen, and Corsair Quinn. Corsair Quinn, I need to speak properly. Jeez. Anyways, that's the patch notes for patch 5.14 of League of Legends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was decent. I know this is pretty bad in general, but this is my first time doing this, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, give me some feedback in the comment section down below, and you can subscribe for more videos, and check out other videos if you need a little bit more convincing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, I hope.